Was Richard Wyckoff, the man behind the method. So let's discover together why his work matters today. Okay. So the journey begins in 1888, where Wall Street before computers, meaning like it was uh, this was old days, okay. And Richard Wyckoff arrived on Wall Street in 1888. All right. So there was no computers, no internets, no fancy indicators. Information came from ticker tape, pure price, and volume observation. Okay. Now he was ticker tape for 27 hours a week, developing intuitive judgment, and he was around like 15 years old or something. He was still a teenager, when he was doing this stuff. All right. Now, the 17-year search, how it went was, it was the humbling realization that after 17 years in Wall Street as a boy, clerk, silent partner, managing partner, Wyckoff realized that something profound, that he had no well-defined plan for making money in the stock market. Okay, that was his realization. Then he actually went ahead and developed all his methods. So the turning point was he started studying ticker tape systematically, noticing that stock action reflected the plans and purposes of those who dominated them. Because see, like this phase, we all go through this phase. It's like as a trader, we actually start in the market, then we lose some money, or like we make some money, but the fear, greed, all those emotional roller coaster ups and down, we all go through them. And Wyckoff was an exception of that. He faced those challenges, and then he actually studied ticker tape systematically. That's what we're going to be doing in this course as well. Okay, so you guys are in for a treat. Okay, let's get started. The core insight was that price and volume tell a story. Okay, and there's only two variables that we have in the market, guys: price and volume. Okay, they reveal what the smart money is doing. All right. And it's not a prediction, it's an observation. Wyckoff realized this wasn't about predicting the future. Okay, it was about reading the present accurately. All right, the big operators, the institutions, they left tracks. Okay, they did left tracks in the chart, and if you could read those tracks, you could see what they were doing. And that's what we're going to be doing in this course. So he started educating the public 1907, the ticker tape. After Wall Street's panic, Wyckoff launched a monthly magazine to teach people, and it was about how markets actually work, how the public was manipulated, and how to read institutional behaviors. And then in 1910, first book published, it's called Studies in Tape Reading, which was published under pseudonym Rollo Tape. I still have that book, and like it's really good. Okay, so spending 27 hours a week at the ticker over many months and years, he actually wrote all those articles and books. Okay, so massive success and integrity is that when the 1917, the trend letter, Wyckoff's weekly trading sheet became the largest following of any institutional individual on Wall Street since 1890s. Okay, so he really became famous. Nowadays we have YouTube channel, we have like different like books, all this stuff. But back then, imagine without internet, all this stuff, he was one of the largest. He had one of the largest follower base that back then. So, but then he shut it down. Why? Because the following became too large and unwidely. He wanted privacy. He walked away from massive success because he valued his method more than the fame. So he just, started his course like that. I think that tells you something about the integrity of the man. He didn't wanted that fame. He didn't wanted all those like, what famous people want. So he actually started the final course, where near the end of his life in 1932, Wyckoff created a comprehensive course explaining his method, and it's called stock market science. This in the book you can actually read it there. Okay, division one is stock market science and techniques, and division two was tape reading and active trading. It's more than 500 pages, I think. So the legacy he left behind after 1934 and beyond was that, like, after he died in 1934, uh, but his course is still offered today by the Stock Market Institute in Phoenix, Arizona. 90 years of survival. That's how the powerful his work is. You know, Wyckoff died in 1934, all right, but his course is still offered today. Just imagine, after hundreds and hundreds years of um, like history, you know. We have gone through two world wars, a lot of wars, but still this legacy survived throughout the years. Okay, because it works, guys. Yeah. So the evolution of the method is one of the interesting fact is that Wyckoff never actually created these specific accumulation and distribution models that we use today. Those were added after his death by his students, people like Bob Evans, uh, yeah. So, but the work is that the models are based on his core principles, and they work because they are based on how markets actually behave, not on some theoretical constructs. Okay. So why it matters today? Well, the markets haven't changed. Market is still the market that was used to be. Okay, which is people are actually facilitating the market. So psychology remains the same. Institutions still accumulating quietly. Distribution still happens at the top. Okay, and the only difference is that we have better tools now. All right, we have charts, we have volume data, we have indicators that help us see what Wyckoff spent hours of watching ticker tape to see what we see today. Okay, so this course is gonna teach you about everything that Wyckoff developed, and, like, throughout his method that's, yeah, got evolved over time. Okay, so we're gonna be taking Wyckoff's timeless principle and applying them with modern tools. The method is same, but we can learn it faster and see it clearer. Okay. So what's next? In the next lecture, the composite operator concept, and this key concept will change how you think about the markets forever. All right. So we should always learn from history. All right. Um, because a century old method that still works because markets never change. So I'll see you guys in the next one. All right.